Really excited about deploying your project. Now, before you jump straight into the instructions on how to deploy your project, let's take a quick moment to just reflect on what it is that we are required to do in order to deploy our project. It's really easy to just follow the instructions one at a time and not really think. So I want to make sure that we spend some time to just think about the big picture, and so that way all of the instructions that you're following will have some kind of context. So we're starting here on your laptop. And this is the laptop, your lovingly well-stickered laptop, where you actually have your project running. Okay, great. Now, how do we get it onto the internet? Well, we're going to have to put it onto a server. And so we have a server from Amazon, and what we did is we just got a tiny little piece of it. This is our tiny little piece of their gigantic computer that we get to call our own. Okay, so let's just color code that. That's our instance right there on their server. Okay, great. And so now, how do we actually get in there? We have to put our code into this little piece of Amazon's computer. How do we get there? Well, we're going to get there by creating a pipe from our computer to theirs. So that's when we secure shell into this instance and we create this pipe. Okay, so with this pipe, we now have a little window into what's going on in that computer there. So when you run that secure shell command, when you SSH and you have your little terminal window there, that's not going to be your computer anymore. That terminal now is this computer here. So anything that you have here on your laptop, you're not going to necessarily have right here in this terminal window because that ain't your computer. Okay, so how did we know that we were allowed to make this pipe and access this little instance of the server? We were able to do that because we have a PEM key. So you're going to be asked to download a PEM key when you create your instance, and you make sure that you keep that super secure, okay, because that is what allows you to have permission to create this pipe. Okay, so keep it super secure. And by that I mean, don't put it on GitHub, okay? There are a lot of people who are scraping GitHub looking for PEM keys, and when they find a PEM key, then they're able to secure shell into other people's instances and do whatever they want there, and then, then you get left holding the bill. So that has happened in the past. It continues to happen to a lot of people, and just make sure that that's not you, okay? Keep your PEM key very secure. Put that file in a folder where you know you have no chance of ever accidentally pushing that up to GitHub. Okay, so anyway, so now we have this pipe so that we can see what's going on in this computer here. Okay, great. Now, what do we have? We have an Ubuntu server, which means that we have a Linux operating system, but there's really nothing else. It's pretty naked. So just think back to the kinds of things that we had to do in order to make your laptop a development environment, someplace where you could write your Python projects. We had to do a lot of setup. You may not remember, but if you look back, I'm sure it'll come back to you. There are a lot of installations to do, and those same installations we're going to have to do on this server here. So just off the top of my head, the types of things that you'll have to install will be Python, you're going to need Git, all of those things, right? They're not here in this computer, not until you install them. So there's going to be a lot of installations to do. So that's going to be a lot of the commands that we ask you to run. It's just setting up this environment so that you can actually have your code here. Okay, great. Speaking of your code, so you probably have your code in sitting right here, maybe in VS Code or Atom or Sublime. And so now that code is on this computer, but it's not in this little terminal window, okay? So how do we get it there? Well, we can use GitHub as an intermediary. So you push your code up onto GitHub, okay? Push your code up, and then when you're in this window here, remember you're actually in this computer, you're going to be able to pull that code into your server. Great, so now your code is on your server. Fantastic. After that, we're going to have to do all of those things with Nginx. We're going to have to tell Nginx what to do. We're going to have to tell Gunnercorn what to do. And so that's the stuff that was in Greg's video where he's talking about what's going to happen so that we can actually have this computer listening to the requests coming in. But before that, we have to actually get in there and we have to set up this environment. So things to remember, ain't your computer, okay? When you SSH in, then you're not going to have everything that you have on your laptop. You're not going to have the code, even though it's sitting right there next to it. It's not your computer, so you don't have that stuff. You also don't have things like your favorite text editor, unless your favorite text editor is Vim or Nano. But yeah, there's no way that we can have VS Code or any of the other lovely GUIs that we like, such as MySQL Workbench. We can't have those on here because there's no monitor, there's no mouse over here on this computer. Okay, you are limited to what you can do through terminal commands. So you're going to have to get pretty good at your Vim commands. Okay, Vim is your text editor now, and so get used to it. All right, so anyway, I just hope that as you go through our instructions that we've laid out for you, that you take the time to really think about what does that command mean? What part of this process are we in, and what are we trying to accomplish? And hopefully that will give you some more context to those instructions so that you're not just blindly following instructions. Okay, great. Have fun.